Welcome back to the Beyond Broadcast Podcast, the show which takes a behind-the-scenes look at industry professionals and their lives working in the broadcasting and entertainment industry. Today, I'm joined by Mikey Havoc, an icon of the alternative, the king of the Auckland studio airwaves, and a force to be reckoned with during the 90s and 2000s golden age of New Zealand television. Mikey has been a stalwart in the New Zealand media scene, and in doing so has accomplished feats such as pissing off the whole South Island town, singing pop bangers as Shaggy Sheepdog, and his great achievement to date, becoming a dad to the brilliantly named boy Caius. Welcome to the show, Mikey. Thank you so much for joining me, mate.
Hi, Jamie. How are you? Thanks for having me on. It's exciting to be here. Exciting to be able to tell my tale.
Tell your tales, of course, and that's the reason why we're here, and why I'm so excited, because if we look at your tale and where kind of things started to kick off a little bit, I think we have to go back all the way to Rangitoto College, which is when you started kind of playing music. And if we're talking about your media career itself, I'm sure there was a lot of other things that were hanging around in the background. But Rangitoto College, what kind of student were you in the classroom? Can I picture the class clown, or were you a bit more quiet yourself than what you are these days?
I wouldn't say the class clown, but I don't know, maybe. I mean, I wasn't sort of. I really enjoyed school. School was fun. But I think I made it fun for myself, you know. And definitely in secondary school was secondary school was a little bit less fun, I think. But she's a rugged time with puberty, isn't she? But like the whole when you're trying to like just get your head around, like, hey, here's formulating the rest of your life. Make sure you kick off the rest of your life properly. But here's puberty. And at a co-ed school, and suddenly you become in love with heavy metal, and you don't want to do anything apart from being a heavy metal band, because what looks so much more fun than anything else that you can do, and you feel like you could probably do it, but even though you can't do it, and so you have to get. But then if you want to use the music room at lunchtime or in the weekend, one of the classrooms in the weekend to band breaks in, then you have to be in the choir, and so then you're in the choir, and then suddenly you're doing Jesus Christ Superstar, which was awesome. And really, really enjoyed that. And then suddenly, when I'm in seventh form, I was at the Entertainer of the Year Award singing Phantom of the Opera. Like with another girl that my friend Sandra, who went to school with me. And that was just. But Phantom of the Opera with the mask on and hair like this, seriously, like Bon Jovi is all hell, And that's just after we recorded our award-winning Shazam video contest, award-winning. Back when music videos were just like a novelty, you know what I mean? And so there was the Shazam school video contest, and school band sends in their videos, and we won that year, and we were in sixth form. We were in sixth form, and jumping around, we had to hire the hall. They made us hire the hall, and I'm dark about that, and will be till the day I die. But they we're jumping around in front of all of our schoolmates in like makeup and tights and fire bombs going off, and it seems so ludicrous. And even at that stage, we must have still been at school. Maybe no. At one stage, we played a lunchtime gig at Westlake Girls. Who organised that?
I was just about to ask you that.
How did that happen? I'm not quite sure, but it was great. It was really good, but it was like, who let that happen? But yeah, so that's what school got. School was really good. I enjoyed it. I had some good friends at school and stuff, and it was great to have those friends start up a band together. And none of us could play. Like, bass player was playing the trumpet originally. Andy, our guitar player, sort of played. My cousin Ken was our original drummer, and he was an amazing drummer just naturally. And I wanted to play guitar so bad, and so I made my mum buy me an electric guitar and an amp, and all I could do was just manipulate feedback. I thought that sounded so cool, and that's all. I've never been able to play the guitar not once, but yeah. So it was cool. It was really fun, and it was funny because we managed to do well enough. So Andy and I were in the choir, and who's the guitarist, and Push, and we did well enough at that to sort of be allowed to skive off and do musical stuff a lot of the time, and or just make up lies that were in the production, so we had to take the afternoon off. But it was and they lent us gear and stuff to use, and they lent us, like, say, some of the classrooms to practice in the weekend and stuff like that. And it was cool. And then suddenly school, then you get towards the end of secondary school, it's like, now what are you going to do? It's like, and so of course, what do you want to do? Go and work at a record shop, which is what I did.
But I need to ask you, mate, because every band has that sort of period of like deciding why they want to start a band, which I've heard you say in interviews before, the classic, the girls love bands. How was it that you managed to convince your mum to buy you a guitar amp? Because I certainly know for myself, I convinced my mother to buy me a drum kit when I was 9, but even then, actually, no, I was probably closer to 10. I was playing on plastic Tupperware until I was about 11. But how did that conversation go about with your mum that you're like, please, mum, I need a guitar because I really want to get some girls and play in a band?
It wasn't so much because she's bigger than me. Like, I learned piano for years, and then stopped it for 6 months and wasn't forgot how to play. Like, I can still read music and stuff, but I love music. I love music. I just wasn't into piano lessons so much. And so I think I tried to sort of, and it wasn't so much the can I get a guitar. It was more it has to be mum. It has to be an electric guitar. Like, it has to be electric, and I have to get this Boss distortion pedal. Like, I know I can't play any chords, and I went to proper guitar lessons, like the neighborhood guitar lessons with my electric guitar which has no resonance or whatever in it. But yeah. But I just can't do the whole two-handing thing with it.
There was a story as well, and I feel like this might be like a recurring theme of like someone will tell you that you can't do it, and you're going to be like, I'll bloody show you that I can. That your English teacher kind of mocked you guys at high school and said like, why are you starting a band? You can't have a band.
Yeah,
you guys.
That's just that one conversation. Yeah, that one conversation we said, what do you think you're going to be? You're going to think you're going to be as big as Queen. Is that what you think? Hey, what's not going to happen? Sort of thing. And then, I mean, we weren't as big as Queen, but we managed to do a thing. Yeah, like it's not lost on me about how, of all the people that start up high school bands, and we were shit when we started. Like, we were just an absolute shambles. And we used to practice, like, my mum let us practice in the garage downstairs, like, which the whole neighborhood for kilometers would have been able to hear us playing Smoke on the Water and making up songs, just terrible, crappy songs, and just, mucking around. And then at one stage, we had 2 drummers at one stage. One of our and they both lived next door to each other, and one of them lived in a motel, and like his dad owned the motel, and he even let us practice in one of the motel units, motel in Glenfield. And just like, you imagine if you'd like paid money to go stay somewhere, and there's like this absolute complete shambles of 2 drums, can't play any songs, metal band, bunch of dudes all wearing denim jackets and stuff, all just like making crude jokes and just like thinking it was so cool. But it was like supportive parents. You got to say that, definitely. Yeah, but yeah, supportive parents, more supportive parents than supportive teachers, definitely.
And do you look back on that time now and think like, thank God my mum was as supportive as she was and wasn't someone that was like turning you down at every point, being like, you can't fucking do this, Mikey. This is not realistic. Come on, you need to think about your career in school.
There was always you should get a trade. Come on, but like she would never thought it was actually going to kick off, like, and or that it would be something we could do like full time, But she was always supportive, and that's really cool. Our mums, all of the parents, all the guys in Beverly were really cool like that. And but that wasn't the whole sort of. It just didn't occur to us that it might not work. You know what I mean? It was sort of, well, if we just do it, and just about when I guess just about when we probably thought maybe where sort of doubts might come in, that's when we actually started playing all right, And I realised I could probably sing, and we started to just sort of get gigs, like the crazy gigs, and like on the North Shore and stuff like that. And then, and it just sort of all just fast forwarding after that, just after just after we left school, is when we had like the first gig we did at a bar. It was on a Sunday afternoon, a place called Wildlife, and we sold 250 tickets to it. Like, we just hustled it so badly. We hustled every single person we know to buy a ticket and come on a Sunday afternoon to a bar in town. And the guy who owned the bar was the Dutch guy, and he couldn't figure out what was going on. And we had a great gig. It was like packed. You know what I mean? It was cool. And then but what really, for us, I think one of the most pivotal points was when we started doing those 5 bands for $5 gigs at the power station, which was the best venue in the country, and still is. And we were getting like obviously not just us, but all the bands that were involved in that. We're getting like 900 people a weekend there, like a night to these things. And it was awesome. It was a scene, It was like, and we were just absolutely like enamored with what was going on, the LA scene there, what's going on over at Sunset Strip, and the glam rock and the hard rock scene going on over there, and the fact that we were sort of generating a bit of a scene with what we were doing here was pretty fun, man. And it was very un-New Zealand at the time. It was not something that New Zealand had really done before, I don't think. Yeah, not with that style of music.
And especially with Sunday school, because you're touching on 2 points. Obviously, the beginning of Push Push, but you guys also running Sunday school gigs. Is it kind of weird looking back now and being like, there is never probably going to be that level of, because essentially you were creating an all ages scene without really realizing it. Do you think there's ever going to be that level of all ages scene in New Zealand? Because I grew up when that was still kind of existing, and I was playing in gigs and shows myself, but I feel like it's completely dropped off the wayside. Do you see it making a return or no?
Well, I think people just put more effort into making it accessible for kids, now, I suppose. And I don't know, the kids want to go to gigs now as much. I don't know. Yeah,
I guess that's the big question, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, but there's still local scenes. Yeah, there's still. Yeah, like at one stage, you sort of thought, no one's going to go and see bands in a couple of years. They'll be out, sort of done its thing, and it just sort of regenerates itself and regenerates. Because the good thing with bands is that you've got if you have 6 people in the band or five people in the band, they'll all invite 5 people, and that's 25 people, and that's not nobody. You know what I mean? And if there's another band playing as well, then that's another 25 people. And then 6, 7 people might walk past and see those people in there. And so then there's 70 or 80 people that you're performing to. And that's and if you get a response from them, that's pretty exciting, So I hope it would. But the whole idea that, I guess because it was all so about playing licensed premises, and bands just didn't happen that young either. The fact that we were still at school selling tickets to a show, and putting up posters, driving around town, sticking up posters for a show, and all that sort of stuff while we were still at school, was pretty unique, I think, at the time. We weren't the only band doing that, but there weren't a lot of bands doing it. It's like the bands played at things like the Glue Pot, which was for adults, and things like that, or the Mondazere, or the whatever sort of franchise pub there was circuit that they were doing, But different times, different times, and different. I guess it all works with the whole the way it's promoted as well, help people find out about it, because in those days you went to school and you found out through school. You didn't, there was no social media, there was no music TV, even right when we first started out, there's barely, there's like one music show a week sort of thing, and then that didn't tell you what gigs were coming up or anything, and there was no. There's Rip It Up, I suppose, but that was monthly. It's sort of the advent of the all ages thing was sort of came about, I think, with the manifestation of just people giving it, which I guess, now my brain's working overtime. I think it's it all goes back to the Ramones, mate. It's just that whole, the punk mentality in the 70s, and then that sort of trickling over into post-punk bands and Auckland scene, and then alternative band. And that was probably younger than what was going on when you've got your Hello Sailors and your Dragons and all that sort of thing. And and accessibility to music as well, so that people, record companies were taking more chances on younger bands because they had the opportunity to flick them to more parts of the world. And that just increased. Till it got ridiculous. And then
and is it a little bit of who dares wins? Because the thing is, you said there weren't a lot of other bands who were doing it. So was it almost you just found the nail, you found the space, and you're like, bugger it, we're going to ride this to death and see what happens.
We were so fucking annoying, man, to people. It was just so I worked at HMV record shop, okay, and we did our first demo. Was on tape that we did. We made it at Air Force Studios, and it sounded rugged, okay? But I just got the CEO of HMV at the Christmas party right when he was drunk enough, and right when it was, Mikey, to get him to put it on the stereo and him announce to everybody, just getting in front of people to do it, actually going and really hunting down the supports for Poison and Alice Cooper and Skid Row back then, because getting the support then was a big deal, man. And
massive.
I won't say what band it was because I like the promoter now. But one of those bands, they weren't going to pay us afterwards, and we did a really good job. We did a real good job. And so I had to stand there, and I got the heavies got called in. And I had to stand my ground. I was just like this young guy, But we overly, we really went hard on the whole sort of promoting ourselves because we just felt like we were doing something that was a little bit unique, and that people did seem to slowly more and more be into it. You know what I mean? And enjoying what we're doing, enjoying the energy and all that sort of stuff, and that was wildly different times though. Like when Push Push did our first video, we did it for $5,000, okay, which was nothing. But that turned out that was the template that they used for New Zealand On Air for funding later on when they decided, okay, we're going to fund New Zealand videos. Push Push did theirs for $5,000, and it got shown 71 times that year. So that goes to show you that okay. So that, but then we shot that on a Sunday afternoon because it was the cheapest, and then we went to buy that. We wanted to get the crew some beers. And listen to this for old times. I had to go to a pub in town there, go around the back door on a Sunday afternoon, and I had to go knock, knock. The guy would come out and go, "What do you need?" And I was just like, 24 beers, thanks. Yeah. And he's just like, "I can't sell them to you at Sunday." It's like, okay. I give him the money, and he gives me the beers. It's just like, because of that, it's the secret knock and around the back, and and that's because it was Sunday and one could not buy booze on a Sunday. It just seems like a million years ago. It probably is really when I think about it. But fun, man.
Is it kind of weird for you, mate? Because this must be like a bit of a fever dream for you, looking back at the days of Push Push being like this huge behemoth of a band. Like my parents knew about you guys like well before, and like the fact that you almost had a sort of Sex Pistols type story as well. Because isn't it the big story of how the Sex Pistols started? They saw the Ramones in the UK, and they're like, we need to recreate this. I think every great band started because of the Ramones. I was watching something the other night, and it all went back to the Ramones. Like, what was that? But I mean, because the common denominator is that we couldn't play, we just created something out of that, and we never purported to be anything other than that, and we were just trying to be a little bit different and a little bit, even though a lot of what we're doing was influenced by what was going on overseas and that sort of thing. Yeah, but it is like it's crazy. When you say it still feels funny when you say to me like this huge juggernaut of a band, because in my head what? But then I think, well, I guess like looking back and I think about it now, like it was crazy. Like it was crazy. We did a thing in Invercargill where we had 900 people turn up to an in-store at this record shop, and it felt like the windows were bulging out, ready to burst. I've got like the first handheld video cameras, stuff of that tour, and it's just like we'd go into town and it'd be just everyone would be so excited, and things would be. It was great, man. It was really cool and weird because it was we did it pretty much just our first tour was like I think a second tour was probably the real big one, but the first one was like. It was still pretty cool, and we get to play places like She Had the car park and like all that sort of stuff. And just it was a dream, It was just like, hey, let's back in the tour bus, which was actually just a bongo van, but just the sticky old guys that have been driving around in this bongo van, but for the last 2 months, But it was like it was cool, man. It's just, and every time we do a show, it'd be like, well, this is just let's see if this. What's going to happen here? Hey, it's it. Well, that's cool. Woo, sort of thing. I wouldn't change a second of it, man. It was just like so many just experiences. And like I say, it's not lost on me that I've been very, very lucky in my life to have done some just amazing things with amazing people and got to experience things that I never expected. And just don't ever want to forget, It's just like it's cool, and something about that. Looking back on that period now is very
has become more apparent to me in I guess the last sort of 10 years or something like that, is when you're in a band, like when you're really that age, you're so hypercritical of yourself. You're constantly, you don't really know who you are. You don't know what I know that when you especially when we started getting sort of media attention and that, so you're very sort of, hey, is that me, or what am I trying to be there, or was it? Yeah, I had still a bit of puberty boiling around in there, I suppose, and then just like and then you release a song, and does it sound all right? Oh, maybe you should have done this, maybe we should have done that, and you get to all the stuff that's in your head the whole time, and what am I going to do next? And I'm not getting on so well with this guy in the band lately, and what's happening here? And maybe I'm just sick of the whole thing anyway. And but then all the way down the track, and I'll go, I DJ'd like a this girl's 21st the other week, and like it was, to be honest, the music was terrible. That she wanted me to play. That was terrible. but
it was trying for you.
it was quite trying. Most trying DJ gig before. But even then, some of the older crew that were there, like uncles and that sort of, mate, you're gonna play tripping, mate. And I was just like, it's become very apparent to me about why not only was that song people liked it at the time, and it was big, and it was a number one song for 6 weeks, and wow, what the fuck, sort of thing. But it's also, for so many people, I guess it sticks a flag in the ground of when they're a certain age or a certain
massively,
just a time in their lives that they loved, and that they fondly look back on, and we're one of the sort of the markers of that time in their life, and that's really incredibly humbling and flattering to sort of to be that, and to be able to deliver that joy to people, and still to this day, from a song that we just knocked out, which we just literally knocked out after seeing the Ramones, first band practice after seeing the Ramones. But
that's hilarious. I love
that. That is hilarious, and it's so cool. That's so cool, man. It's so good. That's why music's just the shit. Music's so cool. It's just like, because it's like it's becoming. I'm more and more interested in that side of music, about how it makes people feel so deeply, and so the esoteric sort of nature of how music is part of people. It makes them who they are. And there's people who, the idea that if you took that song away from them, they'd be devastated. It's just like, and it's the song we wrote, but like, we love it. We wrote it. It's just part of our lives. It's part of their lives, and they're not even in the band. What the fuck? It's just like,
It's like a sense of identity, right? Because I think that's the other thing for a lot of people. Tripping and push. It's not always necessarily about the music. It's the idea that there is a band from New Zealand who can produce rock music at a level that kind of displays like, this is us. Like, this is our identity, compared to maybe hearing another American band or another British band maybe doing a similar thing. I think for a lot of people, push was literally that, being like, finally we're seeing someone who's from our part of the world, rather than that was a massive thing. Outer.
But for people that weren't around at that time, have no idea how, you guys aren't bad for a New Zealand band. That whole vibe, that's what that was like. You're going to play any covers, and they're going to play their own stuff. Ooh, are you? Ooh, shit. Like, what's just crazy, eh? So it's just the absolute, like, what band would you go and see nowadays? Like, up and coming band, and they played like 90% covers, which was kind of the thing back then.
Exactly.
It's cool. And that was really cool. And I think that probably back then I would have, if you'd said go to when you're 50 years old, I would have gone, I'm still going to be alive when I'm 50 years old as well. And what's, and how do you think people will look back on it? And I would have thought that people would have, I at the time thought that we were just pretty much knocking off what American bands are doing. But I listen to it now, we don't sound like any other band, which is kind of cool, which I'm kind of proud of, So somehow that happened. And I think that's from testament to the personalities in the band, and and then we were genuinely trying to do stuff that was different, and we could have just gone done big glammy heavy rock singles, but that wasn't fun for us, We were all getting at the same. It was also at that time musically, there was so much, like when the band started, like before I started working in record shops, or about time I started working in record shops, was when if you wanted to, it feels like a band that's sort of like slightly, rare sort of heavy metal band that you want, you'd order it in and you'd go in there every week and you wait. How's my import in yet? Is my import in yet? Is my import in yet? 3 months later, yes, it's here. It's $700 or whatever, and that's how it happened, But then slowly, about the same time, that's what's just happening. So, like to sort of get the timeline right, the next big guitar number one in New Zealand after Trippin' was Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. So that's to give you an idea of where that's when all the music started tumbling in, And so we're as a band, we're already like I'm so excited about Nine Inch Nails and Soundgarden and James Addiction and all this stuff, which is quite different from the stuff that was inspired us 3 years before that, which was Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses and it all suddenly. Suddenly, and then all five guys in the band are all this great shit, and so it all gets muddled into it. So I guess that's where it all maybe comes out,
And out of curiosity, because of the band, you guys went from bigger and bigger. You went to sharing the stage with AC/DC and then going off an Australian tour. And then at what point did it become, because I've had the same situations with bands where we started to get bigger and bigger, things were going well, and then for whatever reason, it kind of ends up imploding, whether it be personality differences, change of vision, whether it be from the sound. That was the reason I ended up leaving one band, is just because I knew that I wasn't suited to the sound anymore. How was it kind of for you coming to that point of being like, I'm in Push Push, we're doing all these great things, but then during your Australian tour, I believe it was, you decided, I'm going back to New Zealand, this isn't for me anymore?
No, it was Australia was cool. Australia was cool. We lived there for 3 months and toured basically. Some weeks we'd play like 3 gigs a night. We played 5 gigs a weekend. So 3 on one night, 2 the next night. Like, just get in the van.
That's hardcore.
Oh yeah, but it was cool fun, and we did it. And when you're over there and living there, you've got nothing else to do. You sleep in, you get up because you got to go gigs or that night, and so that's what you're doing. So you focus on that, and then that was really cool. But one thing that in New Zealand we'd hammered, we'd sort of we toured it to death pretty much, and we didn't, we didn't want people to get sick of us, and it was just plug that in. It was, so that's where we went to Australia. That went really well. And then we came back for a while, and there was a sort of push for a couple of different reasons to go back and base ourselves in Australia. And I was really reluctant. My gut feeling was that just wasn't the right thing to do. And at the same time, there had been some personalities sort of, we get on each other's tits, a couple of us, sort of thing, and there's some disagreements, and there was that sort of, it definitely wasn't, it's a 5-person band, but I've been working really hard from the very, very start and doing all the running around, doing all the getting in people's faces, and, being really non-stop about it, and that was getting a bit tiresome, not tiresome, but it was getting a bit sort of lost in the whole sort of hullabaloo, and it was more for me, the thing was I just didn't believe that going over to Australia was going to make a difference, because I looked at Australia when we'd been there, and it was like it looked like a great place. In those days, you go from, you did like shows, tour around Auckland, that got big, you release a song, everyone liked the song, it was not just, this is like the template sort of thing, and then you tour around New Zealand a couple of times, everyone, you get a rep there, so enough to get some supports, and then you go to Australia, and then the sort of thing was, then you go to then you go maybe over to London, and if you make it big in London, then you go to America. Nowadays you've got kids that are doing their first ever live show they've ever done, and like over in Texas or something like that.
South by Southwest.
Out of it, man, so out of it. But I looked at Australia at the time, and I thought, well, that looks like a great. We could have gone over there. Well, how I envisioned it, and I might have been wrong, who knows? But I envisioned it as it's sort of like being a marble in a bowl. You know what I mean? It's like just dum, 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 like it's a big enough population for us that we could gig every weekend for years and years and years and years and years. But we'd just be going. You
get lost in the sea.
Just gigs to get paid and to live and to survive and to keep doing what we're doing, but just it would be so easy just to get caught in that. You know what I mean? And just I didn't see it as I didn't see that was going to necessarily get us any outside Australia. You know, and I didn't want to just be an Australian New Zealand band forever. Yeah. So
And is that something you feel is? Yeah.
So when everyone else was like about to fly out and go to Sydney, I thought, look, man, and it sucks the timing of it and stuff. But I said, look, I'm just not going to go, and I just don't think this is the right thing to do. I don't feel it, And it hurt, man. It was really sad, and because those guys were like my life from school, it's like that's. I know I did the right thing in my guts anyway, but yeah, and the shitty thing for them to have to go through, thinking that was all going to be what it was. But yeah, I still believe that was the right thing to do. Yeah.
I was going to ask you because I think that's maybe the hidden effect that people don't think about in terms of bands and running a band and doing music is the amount of effort outside of just writing a song and playing a show. There's so much organisation in terms of promo and getting it in contact with the right people, touring, putting together the equipment, transport, everything. It's like a full-time job, and people don't realise it. Do you feel like that was kind of the element that, like, maybe a lot of the time people don't realise that music itself or being a musician is a lot harder work than people realise?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, we didn't have to work as hard as other bands have had to work because, lucky enough to have success to an extent early on, sort of thing. But we worked. We were a fucking hard working band, man. We were, and I think a little bit of it, and also, but that's all I'd done, man. Since as soon as I started working in record shops, I was hustling for the band, and then working, that was back and forth, It's sort of like then quit record shops and it was full time band, and then after a while, if some of the band are getting any tips or ideas that you're throwing out aren't sort of clicking or aren't sort of being received the same way that they should be. I know it's just it's a bummer because we had like a good second album almost written, and I love those guys so much. Like I just love them, and it's great that at one stage we hadn't all been in the same room together for 20 years, but now we're just about to release some 5 new songs.
No way, really?
Yeah,
and you guys are back in the same rehearsal rooms, not the motel room anymore. You've got a proper practice space now.
Well, it's weird because the guitarist Andy and Silver still they live over in Sydney, and they've both got families in Sydney and that sort of thing. So it's been doing that Trans-Tasmania thing has been quite interesting. We've been able to do it somehow, but we did some gigs with the Darkness a few years ago that were pretty cool, and we were supposed to be able to Kiss at Spark Arena, but they cancelled like a week and a half out. I was spewing about that. Because it was only so good. But it's a Trans-Tasmania. It's different, and it's just like I say, we sort of didn't see each other for a long time, and then when we did, it was just like muscle memory goes. It felt like we were 16 again. It was just great, and like I say, I love them. I love those guys, and I love making music with them. And who would ever have thought that we would have written some more new songs at this age, and the stage of our career, and be about to release them? And who would ever have thought that? Even when Andy said, "Oh, I'm going to come over," like a couple of years ago, said, "I'm going to come over and maybe for a wee bit. We should have some practices." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And it's like, maybe just record, maybe write some songs. I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, mate." Like, if I get to the practices, it's like we've got other things on now. It's like, so that's cool. That's what I mean. I'm incredibly proud of it. It's incredibly. I sit there and just, wow, look at it go. Did that happen? Is this happening? Am I the lead singer in a heavy metal band? That's pretty out of it. Wow,
And over the years, you must have pulled in new influences, like the sweatshirt that no one else is going to see because this is an audio-only podcast, is Idols. Do you feel like that's been an interesting perspective that like you're now pulling in new influences, new sounds from over those years that you guys were away from each other for 20 years? Or was it still like you're encapsulating still that sound that you had, that you birthed from Rangitoto College? It's just like nothing's changed kind of thing, but you've managed to adapt it over the years and mature it.
Yeah, well, strangely, it's more like, so go back to the timeline again. It's like one of the other reasons that I was sort of, I think my opinion changed about going to Australia is I just started DJing in bars. I must have gone out because the first time I went out to BFM, was I went up there to make an ad for a Push Push gig. Okay, so to record that, and I just had been to so many radio stations touring around before, and just thought everyone that worked radio dicks, and just like absolutely 100%. And then, yeah, not everyone, but most of them. And then, so I got up there. I just really liked what was going on. I liked the vibe up in that stinky little, stinky little studio, stinky little office, and just like, and that's like I say, that's when I was just really just starting to discover, just find all this music and be at the very, like be like the first person to get, second person in the country to get the Rage Against the Machine single, or been. Because I love Mother Love Bone so much, I got given the Pearl Jam album the day it came out. Yeah, that was just that. Yeah, like, and all that sort of stuff was. I was really, really getting into a lot of different types of music. Working at record shop helps you do that for a start because you're sort of forced to listen to stuff. But then, I just there's so much music coming out that it was just like I just wanted to listen and play all of it, and all of that's of course going to try and influence your next band breaks you go to. You're going to starting trying to sing like Danzig, or I want to I want the guitar sound like Caius, or the 300 band practices I want to sound like James Dixon, or whatever. It's like, all that. I guess that had a lot to do with that as well. And that's like the whole time I was at BFM was all about what some new music I can find to play tomorrow. And that's pretty cool, man. It's intense, but it's pretty cool. And what a great position to be in. It's like what a great opportunity to be able to find the very best music in this wonderful world and just really get the fucking down to the real nitty gritty of why music is just so awesome. It's just like how it can really change the world and can change you, and how powerful it is, and just how exciting it is.
Well, I feel like your life in itself has always been exciting. You're always pivoting into new areas, and I guess it's a good chance to switch the gears into when you started moving into clubs and working in the club scene. And I believe one of the first gigs that you did in terms of working in clubs was at Attica, if I'm not mistaken, and that was with one of your ex-girlfriends that you worked as a DJ, and you're working there as well.
Attica was I'd started like. I must have been doing a show on BFM, or just started doing a show on BFM, and then someone said, "Oh, you should go DJ up at Attica," and Vicky was running. Vicky was running, and she wasn't my girlfriend then, but she became my girlfriend. Like we became a couple after a while. But that was, and Push did a gig up there, so it was sort of I was just playing bloody Body Count and Rage Against the Machine and Faith No More, and just the coolest in the cave, and just crazy cool shit, Fishbone, and like awesome stuff at the bar. People were into it, and it was so cool to be doing that. And then that closed up. That was a real bummer. And so then I sort of was doing it at a couple of other bars and sporadically, and it was cool. And then we started up our own. Vicky and I started up our own little place called Squid, which was like just a tiny Squid, like a little 200 people thing. Then the guy that owned the restaurant above went bust, and so we couldn't do it there. And then after about 9 months, a friend of mine, Andrew, who had the amazing and legendary Auckland cafe DKD, he and his friend Warren wanted to put some money into a do a bar, and so that's where Squid happened. And and there was, and the whole concept with that was, for me, it was like to go make somewhere where I'd want to go every weekend. Make somewhere where me and my friends would want to go every weekend. Play the music that we'd want to hear every weekend, and it was just so cool, man. And once again, it was a time and a place as well. It was like it couldn't have been what it was without the way that music was going, the way the attitudes. Like it wasn't. It's where I discovered dance music. Like it's where I discovered that you can play dance music and heavy metal at the same time, one after another, and it's okay, and it sort of works, and that went on to a huge sort of still bloody life of nightclubs and that electronic music and dancing till 6 o'clock in the morning, which I still totally love, and did last weekend, and which was a whole different thing again compared to what had been life for me, which has been either on stage or standing somewhere for an hour and a half facing that direction, watching somebody on stage, which is totally different to what the whole club thing was, which you don't face anybody. You rock around and it's more of it's an experience as opposed to a performance. Like, I guess, does that make sense? And that that was and to actually be enjoying it and actually become part of it as well is something that was really great, man. So like there's a little bunch of us metlins sort of in Auckland that can quite proudly say that we were genuinely and are genuinely part of what made dance music in this town happen, and that's weird, but it's cool.
It's odd. It should realistically be the polar opposite. Most other people would assume metalheads would not be into electronic music. They would not be the purveyors of proving it to the crowd. But it was one of the things I'm most proud of with the clubs with Squid, when we had Squid, was like, and we had all the big day out after parties there. Almost every single one of my favorite artists came up and hung out there, and so it was just like it really like you say, I've done. And maybe I've said this before, but to be, however you describe it as what I do, or have done, or what I do, or what, to be the guy that got to be able to do that, or this, at this particular moment in time, in this particular place, with all these particular people, is just the shit. It's so cool. It's just like, it's like, I'm so blown away by that, because you're at these like pivotal turning points in like a lot of areas in terms of culture, and it must have been funny for you looking back and being like, if it wasn't for Luke the Spook showing me what electronic music was like and rave music, I wouldn't have even known what was going on.
If it wasn't for like Luke and Gideon and Chelsea and Swanee too, to speak after like a bit later, but like all going, you can have a go, you can have spend an hour trying to fucking mix those records together, Mike. Off you go. And that was great, man. It was just like, it's like, thank God for them. Thank God that they did that, because it was like like I say, it just turned into what it turned into, and it's so cool. It's like, and I'd like, it's really nice. I saw that Lost Nightclubs podcast that with Grant Marshall and I can't remember the other guys, podcasters, but and they were talking about, the guy was saying like that, talking about me and Squid as they went past Squid, sort of walking past it, and that I'd been responsible for introducing some of the greatest tunes you'd ever heard, and it's just like, what the that's what it's about, like my pleasure, sort of thing, it's just like, I'm just.
And do you mind me asking, because you once said that the Chemical Brothers were the most loveliest people you've ever met. Do you still stand by that today?
They were like, when I met them, they were just the most unaffected. Like I just thought they were the most amazing thing, and they were just really lovely dudes, man. They were just like, they wanted to know what we were up to. They wanted to know what we thought of stuff. And they just had no rock starness about them at all. They're all about giving, and I thought that was really cool, Having said that, I saw him down at Electric. I saw Ed Chemical down at Electric Avenue, and I went up to him and said, "Oh, I don't know if you remember me," and blah 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 blah. He goes, "No," which is fine, because I'm sure there's a Mikey Havoc. I said, "Oh, I've opened for you 3 times, and I've we did some TV stuff and the radio stuff 3 more times, but That's cool, but definitely, I definitely think that they, like this is how cool they were. I don't know if I told the story, but when I got to watch them from the side of the stage at the Boiler Room when they first played the Big Day Out, and I parked my car behind the stage. I wasn't supposed to, but I had, and my friends and I had watched them. We were just like completely, wow, how was that? And as we were walking to the car, we walked past their like portacom. So this is, like I know what it's like to be a musician who's just come off stage after a massive, great, big, successful gig. Well, maybe I don't know part of it, but and they come out and go, "Oh, Mikey, come in." So got me and my friends come and sit there. Oh, so what do you guys think? And we're just like, what? That's fucking amazing. What do you mean? What do you mean? fucking amazing, man. But they were just like genuinely they just invited us around, hang out, and it was cool, man. There's no. Also, but then to say that, Alice Cooper, very nice man as well. Yeah.
He seems like a genuine dude. And one of the stories that I keep on hearing about Squid, and I need you to confirm whether this is actually true or it's just a complete yarn, borderline shit yarn. Did Bono actually sign the toilet wall at Squid?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
he did. He did, and then I took a photo of it, which is on somewhere in my home, and one of those, like disposable cameras. It's somewhere in one of those somewhere. And then came back a couple of days later, and because the bar wasn't finished yet properly, and my friend Rick, who was taken through when they're here on tour, he brought them up because it was like somewhere quiet to go where he knew there wouldn't be anyone because we weren't actually properly open, but then someone had come up where he'd signed the wall and like just taken like a Stanley knife or something like that, just just peeled it off and gone. Where Bono signed the toilet wall. He signed the toilet wall, yeah.
Aside from Bono, because Bono, obviously, big international superstar, but is there any particular moment from the Squid days that still sticks in your mind even now? Like a particular night or someone that you met or came across during your time there?
Yeah, man, like tons. Like to say the first big out after party was amazing. The Breeders, Droverkill, Smashing Pumpkins. James Ehouse from the Smashing Pumpkins was the first one to turn up, and I made a complete dick of myself in front of him. I won't tell you what happened, but that's pretty. And I'm DJing because it's cheaper if I was just DJing. And at one stage, I look over the other side of the room, and then sitting on the stage, Kim Thayil and Chris Cornell, my fucking heroes from Soundgarden. And Chris Cornell sort of looks at me and goes, "Hey man, play some more disco." Oh. And I was just like, oh, I was so devastated, yeah. Like Jeff Buckley, hanging out with Jeff Buckley all night was amazing. It was amazing. And like Perry Farrell coming up to my fucking bar, my biggest musical idol of my life, Just the fact that the cheap sex parties, which which people, I don't think people believe. I don't think people believe that they happened. They happened, all right. They were ludicrous. Like and one of the guys from REM was at one of those, the drummer. 3 days before he had a stroke, actually. And he was at Cheap Sex Party, and he was sitting at the end of the bar with wide eyes. And I do just like I say, all my heroes were there, have turned up there, just sort of hung out and just like, but I really, for me, the really, really, truly best thing about it was to sit there on like a Friday night and watch 500 people, and all who really. Who, if you took a photo of them then you wouldn't have known those are 500 parties, but all turned out to be the most amazing, like down the line. It's like, now he makes films, and now he's an amazing artist, and those two there start up their own company, and they did this, and this person's that guy, and it's like, and we had really, really great, amazing people want to come there and hang out there, and that was to be the person that makes a place where to have a place that everyone wants to go on a Friday night and they fucking love it. It's so cool. That's a real privilege, It's like I don't know really how else to explain that, but there's just like it was very, very satisfying in that respect. I never really made any money or anything like that, but it was very satisfying. And
because you made a community.
Yeah, dude, like totally. And it was, like there's no dress code or anything, just no fuckwits. But no, we don't serve lime red, and no fuckwits, and leave the girls alone. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, so it was, it was cool, man. I loved it. I've never worked so hard in my life, though. Jamie, I'll tell you, as I did when I was working there. So I was going to die, but it's good.
And I want to rewind back on something because this kind of goes into the next phase of your life. And this is the thing. I feel like you've lived 10 different lives in one. And so it's crazy to even think about how much you've done, Mikey. But you were mentioning before that you thought originally everyone who works in radio are dicks. To be fair, was that just your experience, or do you still feel like it's an industry truth that a lot of people in radio are dicks?
Oh no, it was sort of my experience. I mean, there's still some people that I'm really, I really like that I've sort of, met along the way there. But on the whole, it was pretty shit. Like, I still think commercial radio is incredibly shit, to be honest. I'm stunned at how shit it is sometimes. Radio's got so much potential, and it is so not utilised. It's a bummer. It's a cool medium, man. I love it so much. And I've met loads of cool people in radio, and I just sometimes wonder what. Maybe I've just been blessed with being somewhere and being semi-successful when I was there. You know what I mean? As opposed to just being student radio. You know, so. I don't know. Now my head's wandering a wee bit for that, but it's sort of I don't want to rag on it too much because it is what it is, and I guess you know what it is when you walk into it, commercial radio. You know what I mean?
And do you feel like a little bit of that love has kind of gone out of radio? Because the thing, if we look at your BFM days, you were doing some pretty pretty interesting stuff. And I was explaining this to my girlfriend actually earlier this morning, the fact that you were well known for having Monday chats with the Prime Minister. And my girlfriend's from Argentina, and she still thinks it blows her mind, the idea that a radio host can just call up the Prime Minister on a Monday morning and just be like, hey, how's things going?
After being out all weekend. For fucking 17 years I did that, maybe. 12 years of it was Helen Clark. And so 9 years of it was Helen. No, because it was about a year of that when she was leader of the opposition. But 9 to 10 years of Helen Clark and John Keefe for so many years. Just like. Very and I remember when some of the guys from Paper Records came over. There was a big bunch of DJs that came over and were living in New Zealand for a couple of months. And they were just blown away. They could not believe that. They couldn't believe that some of that I was sort of casual chat. It's quite cute, isn't it? It's quite a cute sort of like weird island nation thing to do. It's like the thing you speak like from. Live on Waiheke and get to meet the president of Waiheke. Something. Yeah, it's cool, man. But like I say, it's very. I'm in a situation at the moment where I'd love to be doing radio, but I've been really, really spoiled, man, with the radio I have been able to do. Like it's, the one thing I get really, really good at, and then it turns out all the jobs that are available for it are just really, really lamer versions of what you've done before. So
you came into radio quite fresh. Like your introduction was you going in to record that ad and then going in and being asked to kind of make an appearance. You did your Wednesday shows. But the curious thing I need to ask you, mate, is because you referred to BFM at one point as the pits of fire. So what did the pits of fire at BFM teach you about working on radio then that led to this massive career? Because you either sink or swim in radio. So what did you learn in those first couple of weeks that you're like, fuck, I've got it?
It's a good question, actually. I didn't know whether I knew I had it for a long time. I thought I was just winging it. But I just and going, well, what are those? And definitely that my energy used to freak people out up there a wee bit. Because student radio and I adore it, and I'm not knocking it, but different times and places stuff. But student radio used to be very much caught by fate and come up next Bauhaus off their UEP, chair a couple till Colonel. You listen to BFM. That was it. And then I'm like, it's a fucking And that was different, And then, but then, like, it was all about sort of I guess what I did with that and with the TV later on was to sort of just go, well, who says you can't do this? What about if you just did that? What would happen if you just did that? Oh, look, that's great. Look at that. Oh, look, that worked really well, And yeah, that was So it was. It's I don't know what I learnt that don't listen to what just like you can be doing a show when you first start doing a radio show and then someone sends you a message or a text and just goes, "You're shit." It's devastating, and it's so devastating. You've got no idea. But once you go, well, actually, who the fuck are you? Actually, pal. So, like I didn't. I know it sounds really weird, but I didn't feel like I fitted in at BFM for a long, long time. I always felt like I was part of it, but I didn't feel like it was like that everyone else necessarily felt like I was part of it. No, like I never felt unwelcome, but it was like, I didn't feel like I was the same as everyone there. Maybe, I don't know if that makes sense. And I had really good bosses there too. Like I had really good like PD. Bill Curtin was amazing to have the PD. Like when you've got a program director who just comes and goes, "Hey, look, I'm not going to make you listen to a show every week with me, and I'm going to go over point." He goes, "But if you're a fucking dick, I'm going to come and tell you you're a fucking dick." And he did it twice. And and all the years that he and I worked on radio together, he was my PD on radio. It was like he did it twice, and man, it was effective. It's like because it just went. I said, "I'll tell you, Mike, and today you were a bit of a fuckwit." I was like, oh, because like I don't know, look, and it was great, man. It was great, and it's you just it's with a whole bunch of different people, all from all different sort of whole bunch of different energies, whole bunch of different types of people, whole bunch of different interests, and we're all there for the same thing, which is just to make some great radio, and that was cool. That's what really made me just absolutely fall in love with it,
Because I was going to ask, I think that's probably the reason that you still flip back on BFM quite fondly in that sense, is that you were given a lot of freedom in terms of content. But the other question I'm quite curious to ask you was, did you feel a sense of responsibility as well because of the fact that you're in the breakfast slot, you're on people's drive to work? Did it was that something that you thought about, the idea
very, very much so.
The person in the car that someone was listening to on their commute?
Yeah, like I've said this before, but I think it's really important. It's like, for someone to let you into that part of their morning, for that part of their day, is a privilege. Because like most people, a lot of people don't even deal with their partners, or they don't deal with their kids at the time of the day, but they let you in there, and so don't take that for granted. And I know I like making people feel good. You know what I mean? I like making people want to listen, and when it started, we started sort of at the stage where people were listening to as long as they could to the show and stuff like that. That's when you're doing really great stuff, because it works. It's not like I didn't come up with ideas, walk in there, come up with ideas, and blow people away. It was like I've always thought radio is generated by what you put out something, and then you get it back, and you double it back, and then if you volley it, and then you build it, and suddenly you do that. Suddenly we're all doing this. It's like, what do we do? This is mental. What are we doing? Sort of thing. And that's the afternoon's finished. And we'll see you tomorrow. It's like, wow, that was fucking a good party. Shit. And that's I thought, yeah, it can be quite overwhelming to think of in that respect. And I've been lucky to work with some amazing people, and had just so much fun doing it, man. Especially at BFM, it's just stupid fun sometimes. And then, oh, cool, and now we'll get to play in bands that I've been in at the summer series, and we'll, host this thing, or, come up with this idea, and now it's like a fancy new band or something like that, which now is like a staple on BFM for, new bands to go to, and, this stuff, well, spoiled.
You've always had this great love of music, and BFM for a lot of people has always been the purveyor of basically pushing alternative music, particularly anything from New Zealand. I can speak to the credit of an artist that I used to play in with in the local scene in Christchurch, Jim Nothing, who just won, I think, Best Alternative Artist recently at the New Zealand Music Awards, and he thanked BFM exclusively for breaking him as an artist. And I remember that BFM was one of the only stations that were playing guys like us. how important do you feel BFM is to the New Zealand music scene? Do you still feel like without like stations like BFM, the music scene would really die?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think that's sometimes I think BFM sometimes needs to be reminded of that too, and not just New Zealand music, like where like I kind of people forget that was the first place, that was the only place that you heard, for, just to grab some names out of the air, Soundgarden, not Guns N' Roses probably, but Soundgarden, bloody the Soundgarden also, like Daft Punk, Underworld, whatever, like all that stuff. The first time you heard that was there, or the NWA, bloody Public Enemy, all that sort of stuff. Like just all the really good shit, man, that has made music so important to all of us that love music nowadays. BFM played it first. They were the only ones to play it and knew what they were playing and why they were playing it. Yeah, and it must be hard for them now because the drift net's so big. Like there's so much stuff available, and it's available. Like you see it and you got it. You know what I mean? It's like it's not a matter of waiting for the record to be delivered or someone turning up with a bag full of 12 inches they bought in Jamaica or something like that. It's like so it must be hard to sort of curate them, but it's so important, and it's important. It's just as important for music. As important as it is for music, it is just as important for radio and for journalism and for all that other sort of stuff. All the student radio stations are, and all there's so many amazing artists that would, Beck Runga. I think I was the first person to play Beck Runga, something like that, or look at a band like She Hard. They were only on student radio ever for years and years and years, and then they became She Hard. So like it's there's so much to thank student radio for, and it struggles so hard, but that's sort of what makes it. I guess the struggle's real, and so the people, that no one's bullshitting you. It's like it's not, no one's for any other reason than the love of it and the passion, and I hope that stays with the radio, the stations, as time goes on. It's different. It's like BFM, and I guess like all the other students used to be like, hey, do you like bloody Norwegian ska sort of thing? And then Tuesday night we've got Norwegian ska, so let's tune in then. But now that doesn't work. So I think what I've sort of said to BFM recently is like, still play Norwegian ska, but now focus on the one things that especially the student stations are particularly unique in, is that they get to be, like, we'll say BFM, for just to use that as an example, there's the only Auckland station that's just Auckland. So
very true.
Work that community and respect that community that's happening there, and Auckland artists and Auckland scene, Auckland gigs, because no one else is doing just that, So I guess that's maybe where they could head, or sort of head a lot more, because the music thing is, everybody's a fucking playlist, knows how to make a playlist now, and everyone thinks that they're the greatest band ever, and so it's just like, yeah.
And are you saying that there's a little bit of that influence trying to, like, I guess, penetrate commercial radio as well? Because I certainly could see it when Haruki did their massive rebrand, that it was kind of felt like they were trying to do what BFM was doing, but from a commercial scale, or George when they ended up playing a lot more like independent music and stuff like that. Do you think it's commercial radio can try to do it, but they're never quite going to get to that point because they just don't have the connection with the local community?
Well, I mean, George is quite unique because George, I've never really been a big George listener. I love dance music, but it's just never really clicked with me for some reason. I know lots of great friends of mine who've played there and had great shows on there, and love being on the station. I'm not quite sure what it's all about now, to be honest. I don't know who listens to that, but maybe that's just me being a musical snob. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I think, and the Haruki thing was really interesting, man, because they at once I was the only, when I was doing that nights on Haruki, I was the only commercial DJ in New Zealand that was allowed to choose what he wanted to play, even though there were some parameters, like had to be guitar, he had to be rocky, but but I was allowed to go pretty deeply into it. And who would have thunk it? It worked. It worked really, really well. And it was cool. And that was a really exciting time to be involved in Hauraki back then, because it was that was people were turning off the TV and turning on the radio, and to a station which essentially had sort of lost all of its oomph. And that was really cool, man, to be part of that. That's really good. And people, I think we had a when I was there, we had a really good feel of what was going on. I think potentially there's so much more that station could do. I really do. Like I say, it's commercial radio, and it's not my radio station. So yeah.
Do you think the reason why a lot of people started kind of gravitating towards a new Hauraki is because they killed the brand? Like, in respect, I actually spoke with David Riddler, who was involved with the branding of Hauraki and the rebrand, and he mentioned the fact that it was considered such an old man station, it was going to die a slow and painful death, but by doing this rebrand, they kind of breathed like new life into it. Do you think that was kind of the reason why Hauraki is kind of still around now, is that there is this element of like they're just doing the stuff that most other commercial stations probably wouldn't have taken the risk of doing, including, as you said, you got given full reign to just go for gold as long as it was guitar music?
I think if they I don't think it was just about the rebrand. I think that if we had delivered something decent, then it wouldn't have made a difference. You could rebrand it 20 times over, and it wouldn't. It was and it was. I think the fact that it wasn't sort of a half-assed sort of kept. There was like no. There was a lot of belief that what we were doing was the right thing. Then that get on board and we'll make it worth your while, sort of thing. If that makes sense, And so I think rebranding just the thing that commercial stations are always going to do, and that they could have, as long as you can walk the walk, then as long as you can walk after talking the talk, then that should be the thing, surely. It's like I don't know. It's like it was a cool thing to be part of, and it was even to the point where I did cheesy things like go up to Whangarei and talk to all the Northland advertisers at a big conference up there and tell them how much I love working at Hauraki, because I did, man. And I was excited, and it was like convincing them to look, hey, stick with us, and we'll jump back on a board if you jumped off, because it's good. And it's like, and we're not just changing the colours, we're actually, or changing the wording. They're actually really trying to do something, and it was getting, and the response was really cool. People were into it, and it's And I think it was more than just a brand. I think it was delivering a product. Like I say, people were turning off their TVs and listening to the radio, and you don't do that just because something's been rebranded. You don't do it three nights in a row. You might do it the first couple of nights. Go, oh yeah, it's different, but yeah, look at that, yeah.
Do you think taking a little bit of that student radio, like kind of aesthetic, or even more so, because back in the day, wasn't that kind of the thing? You let the host, you let the talent choose the music based on what they kind of knew. There was a bit of expertise behind it, a bit of curation.
Well, I mean,
do you think that's maybe something that might be missing?
For me, that's all I knew, though. So the idea that you're going to be talking like this and coming up here, another Pearl Jam song for another Pearl Jam, and one more Metallica song was just like that thing. It's was just like, duh. And I remember at one stage, like saying to Jeremy, when Jeremy and Matt were doing the breakfast show there, hey, remember how these guys used to be the guys who would be doing radio, and we'd be, they'd say, oh, maybe get up to our level, but and then just like suddenly realizing, oh, we're actually the guys that are doing the radio now. It's actually us. We're those guys now. But we're not. But without all those stupid trappings, like having to talk like that, and that sort of thing. It's just like that's crazy, man. It's crazy. And it was definitely the student radio sort of mentality there of like a lot of not giving a shit, and a lot of just sort of but just doing stuff, not just working out what's going to make people giggle, doing stuff, like making it like I'm really proud of. There's not many radio shows I've done in my life where I've finished the show, gone home and gone, ooh, like I'm pretty fucking proud of every single show I've ever done. You know, like as far as like whether it's the music's been good and what we talked about, you know. And I'm not the greatest. Like sometimes I'll stutter and spittle out my bloody stuff and not make any sense. But then I'll play good tunes after that, you know, and come up with something great tomorrow. It's just like yeah, and that's what I love. And student radio, you're allowed to make mistakes, and you can revel in them sometimes, you know. And also a big part of student radio is the irreverency and the sort of able to laugh at yourself, you know, and able to take the piss out of yourself and not take yourself too seriously and not take your God's fucking gift, you know. So.
Because I was going to say, do you think that's a massive reason why you feel like a lot of people really gravitated to you as a talent, as a personality on air, particularly on radio, is because of the fact you weren't trying to be this pretentious, godly radio host voice that was distant from everyone? You were just like a mate down at the pub having a chat. Do you think that's kind of the more or less the reason why a lot of people love listening to you?
Quite possibly. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I'd hope so. I don't think I ever came across as like I've only ever been me on the radio. I've only ever had to I've never had to go time to put on the radio face or you know or put on the radio fucking voice. It's like it's only ever been me, so I don't have to remember what the other personality was doing. You know, like I can just talk about what I'm doing and talk how I feel about stuff and yeah. I think people appreciate it. Actually, I think that's something that's changed radically in radio, even with talkback hosts and stuff now. You know, it's like listen to the difference between the talkback hosts on some of the stations now and say Leighton Smith, where Leighton Smith's got this veneer of like, even like Mike Hoskins sort of got it a wee bit too. This you know, like what about Mike Hoskins for like, oh, thank God we've got somebody who just knows better than everybody else in the country every single day. Yeah, it's like what a tiresome fucking thing that is, man. Tell me more, Mike, about how you know better about it than I do, please. You know.
Yeah, I love that there's that separation. Yeah, but you're right. I think the fact that identity has now been so much more attached to radio, especially, and people are being their realist. I hate using the term because I know it's very trendy now, but authentic selves is definitely changing the way that people like look at it from that perspective.
Man.
It doesn't
it's
feel like this.
It's easier, yeah. and you feel you go to bed every night being you. You're not you weren't playing a part today. You've just been you, and that's. So you get to just trundle through life without going, you know, like the analogy I've always used is coming home, saying hi to everyone, and then going locking yourself in the ensuite and crying. You know, it's like because you played the 14th fucking Incubus song that week or something. So, you know, like it's, you know.
And then we'll do another rewind because we're fast forwarding, we're rewinding. This is probably going to be the most confusing podcast episode for anyone now. And I apologize because this is all on me. You moved from doing BFM, but then you did a complete U-turn and went to television. Usually most people, they stick to radio, they don't move out of radio, but you decided, nah, bugger it, I'm going to give TV a go. And it kind of came about in quite a weird way in that sense. But I think from what I've heard is you first kind of entered into the TV kind of sphere by pretending to be a snowboard reporter. Is that correct? Yeah.
I had some guys that I knew. There's a DJ at BFM and his mate, and they were doing sports night. And I just need to make some more money, man, and wanted to do some stuff. And a lot of people had always said to me that I should do TV, and I never really saw that as my thing, you know. Yeah, I sort of said, hey, come on, put me on the show. And they go, we need to, can you snowboard? I went, oh yeah. I'm not great, but and I couldn't at all. But then you obviously know that story where then I would go away and do these snowboarding stories for the weekend. But the weather would close up. We'd sit in the hotel room, me and my friend Nick, and we'd just sit there and just talk about what we would do if we had a TV show. And then because of what was happening with the radio and how that was all working so well, it really. I just started to. I could see in my head how it would work, and I'd look at a show and I go, how much of that show, how much of that half hour of TV just cost to produce there? And something, $40,000. I go, if you give me $40,000, I can do a better show than that. I can do something to be more entertaining than that, you know. And thus, that happened. And then so I came up with the idea, and I got really, because I could see how to transfer what was happening with the radio to TV. That just I know what was it, just I guess with media and with just the whole magazine-y sort of thing I was into at the time, of just getting entertainment from everywhere, and just what was all happening, so what's going on, and how funny and exciting and hilarious and serious and colourful the whole thing was, and it was a good time too, because people were becoming a bit less tribal. You know what I mean? Like, people were, we don't only talk about this and we don't only talk about that. People were hanging out a bit more, sort of, and so that, and that sort of, I went into TVZ and pitched it to Neil Roberts, and he just basically looked through it, went, oh yeah, and I went, oh shit, can you have another look through it? Because he went, look, I'll give you the show. What do you want to do on it? So we just went, and then boom, and then what was going to be a 1 hour show, he decided he wanted it to be 5 nights a week live on MTV. I was like, what? And then that's sort of what it became, So
if you like the podcast, I'd love for you to leave a 5-star review on your preferred podcast platform and let me know your thoughts on the show. Don't forget, you can reach out to me via Instagram at BeyondBroadcastPod or via email at beyondbroadcastpod@gmail.com. Until next time, take it easy.